748. Okay, 748. Let's go ahead and do this whole section together. Put it together. Section of law, 41 through 48. Psalm 119, 41 through 48. Let thy mercies come also unto me, O Lord, even thy salvation according to thy word. So shall I have wherewith to answer him that reproacheth me, for I trust in thy word. And take not the word of truth utterly out of my mouth, for I have hoped in thy judgments. So shall I keep thy law continually forever and ever. And I will walk at liberty, for I seek thy precepts. I will speak of thy testimonies also before kings, and will not be ashamed. And I will delight myself in thy commandments, which I have loved. My hands also will I lift up unto thy commandments, which I have loved, and I will meditate in thy statutes. You know, had I tried to plan this all out, the end of the verse that we're going to look at this morning, it would have got messed up because it's been changed several times. But the Lord knows how he wants to work. So we're going to look at this morning at verse number 45. Verse number 45, and I will walk at liberty, for I seek thy precepts. Father, thank you this time to come and look at your word this morning. We pray that you would open up our hearts and our eyes, which you have us to see and understand. Lord, as we think of the events that we did years ago, and think of the principles in which your nation was founded, but it was based on your word, and how we've departed from it. May we once again walk in Jesus' name. Amen. I will walk at liberty, for I seek thy precepts. It goes along with the previous verses, particularly verse 44. So shall I keep thy law continually forever and ever. And also, this whole section. And then in verse 42, so shall I have wherewith to answer him that reproacheth me. Verse 43, take not the word of truth utterly out of my mouth. And then here, verse 45 says, I will walk at liberty, for I seek thy precepts. And goes along also with verse 46. And I will speak of thy testimonies also before kings, and will not be ashamed. When people ask us how God lets tragedies happen, why God lets tragedies happen doesn't prevent them, the answer is liberty, free will. You know, do you really want a God in the universe who enforces his will upon every being all the time? What good would our existence be? We have no free choice. But God, when he created man, gave them a free will. And what they do? They got deceived by Satan, who also God had created. And obviously, as a free will also, and ended up rebelling against God. And all through the rest of the time, between Satan being the God of this world and trying to control things the way he wants to keep his stronghold, and man's own sin, so problems have come. We know in the book of Job that Satan had the permission from God to go after Job. That's because Job did have. The Satan was saying, look, he's got your special protection on him. Of course, Job didn't know why he was going through all of it, and all of his friends were like, you must have been sinning, that's why this judgment came on you. No. It's the glory of God. You know, we don't see the big picture, we don't see the end to the beginning, we don't see everything how it is going to happen and needs to happen. For God to bring back his expected end, that is, for Christ to return in power, to glory, to rule and reign, to overthrow Satan, to claim his own. But we can walk at liberty. We can speak of these things with others. Speak of thy testimony before kings, and not be ashamed. Look at that. We'll look next week. I will walk at liberty. I will walk at liberty. Why? He's saying, for I seek thy precepts. It goes along with the previous verse, so shall I keep thy law continually forever and ever. You know, people are saying, oh, the Bible is a bunch of lists of do's and don'ts, and if you can't do anything, you can't have fun, you can't do this, you can't do that. But David's saying the contrary. He's saying, I will walk at liberty, for I seek thy precepts. And that concept was actually not that well known until David, in the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, has appeared. Apostle Paul goes over it again in Galatians, and he's talking about, look, you know, Christ has set us free from the bondage of the law. David here is saying keeping of the law is giving him liberty. Why? Because he is looking forward to that time of liberty in Christ. I will walk at liberty, for I seek thy precepts. Spurgeon says this, he says, saints find no bondage in sanctity, that is in keeping of the law, keeping of the true law that Christ came to fulfill. The spirit of holiness is a free spirit. He sets men at liberty and enables them to resist every effort to bring them under subjection. The way of holiness is not a track for slaves, but the king's highway for free men who are joyfully journeying from the Egypt of bondage to the kingdom of rest. God's mercies and his salvation by teaching us to love the precepts of the word and set us at a happy rest, the more we seek after the perfection of our obedience, the more we shall enjoy complete emancipation from every form of spiritual slavery. David at one time with life was in great bondage through having followed a crooked policy. He deceived Achish so persistently that he was driven to acts of ferocity to conceal it, and must have felt very unhappy in his unnatural position as an ally of the Philistines and captain to the bodyguard of their king, the enemy of his people of Israel. He must have feared lest through his falling into the crooked ways of falsehood, the truth would no longer be on his tongue, and therefore prayed God in some way to work his deliverance and set him at liberty from such slavery. By terrible things in righteousness did the Lord answer him. At Ziklag, their town was destroyed, their wives and children taken captive, and they had to go after the Amalekites. But through that, and through the battle between the Philistines and the Israelites, David was freed from being the servant of Achish, the king of the Philistines. This and unites the verse 45 to 44. It mentions another of the benefits expected coming from the mercies of God. All the way back to verse 41. Let thy mercies come also unto me. The man of God had mentioned that silencing of his enemies in verse 42, that power to proceed in testimony, verse 43, and perseverance in holiness. And now he dwells upon liberty, which is next to life, is dearest to all great men. He says, I shall walk, indicating his daily progress through life, at liberty as one who is out of prison, unimpeded by adversaries, unencumbered by burdens, unshackled, allowed a wide range, roaming without fear. But such liberty would be dangerous if a man were seeking himself for his own lusts, as we see throughout our nation, throughout our world. But when the one object sought after is the will of God, there can be no need to restrain the searcher. I will walk at liberty, for I seek thy precepts. You know, too often people are like, oh, liberty, we want to do what we want. Well, then you're slave to sin, slave to your own lusts, slave and tool of the devil, who then uses those greed and ambition and other pride and other besetting sins to accomplish his goals. And then we're not at liberty. Observe in the preceding verse, he said that he would keep the law, but here he speaks of seeking things. Does he not mean that he will obey what he knows and endeavor to know more? Is not this way the highest form of liberty? To be always laboring to know the mind of God and to be conformed to it. Those who keep the law are sure to seek it and bestir themselves to keep it more and more. Liberty is in progressive action. You can truthfully say, I will walk, or I shall walk. They are carried, they are driven on the way of life. They act not from themselves, but from others. They are mere spokes in the wheel of a social machine. Liberty is in the pursuits of rights. Obedience is the secret of liberty. Men in this world are under the reign of law, and many try to be outside of law. We can see that this is so in our everyday experience. Laws we have to obey. The root of bondage lies in disobedience to law, and so is in man and not in God. He says, I will walk at liberty, for I seek thy precepts. The reverse of that saying is no less true. A plain truth it is, simple even to self-evidence, and yet how slow men are to take it in. It must be the purpose of any true scheme of redemption to lead those who receive it to magnify the law and make it honorable. And how often people get saved and just want to disregard God's commands. Jesus says, if ye love me, keep my commandments. Notice here, he says how closely he ties liberty to keeping God's law and to seeking his precepts. It's right there between them. So shall I keep thy law continually forever and ever. I seek thy precepts, and in between there he says, I walk at liberty. I will walk at liberty. Because only in God's perfect will and following his commands will we have that liberty to find the truth, to keep it, to seek for it, to know it. We won't be enslaved to our own sin, our own lusts. The conditions of spiritual freedom. Deep trust is essential to perfect freedom. Perfect love casteth out fear. Return of the spirit of man to God is inward emancipation. To be the child of God is to say, Our Father. To trust in him is unshackled freedom. Holy living is essential to freedom. To walk at liberty. Liberty is loving service. Freedom to sin would be the vilest of slavery. Illumination is needful for perfect freedom and knowledge. The spirit of love is needful for full emancipation and liberty. Because where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And also, that would give us no need to fear. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. God is working in us. There's a couple of kinds of liberty here. John Hall talks about. It's not so much a producing force as a product of other forces. Liberty is not so much a power as it is an open space within which other powers work. We want to walk at liberty. And if we don't walk at liberty, there is only one alternative, and that is to stay in bondage. If the psalmist studied God's will that he might walk at liberty, how much greater is the obligation on us to do the same? There is liberty from the world. Sometimes we're in bondage to the world in this sense that the mainspring of our life is to stand well with it and do their set in society, the world, what the world around about them wishes them to do. Sometimes the bondage is aggravated by another feature, the effort to rise higher or other ambition. Freedom from that is obtained when we walk according to God's statutes. Godliness with contentment is great gain. And these things, the godliness and contentment, will break these clinging chains of insane and stupid ambition and preparing to walk in liberty. There is liberty from bad ways, the love of the world, the love of the flesh. We learn to walk circumspectly. We learn to keep the heart with all diligence for out of it are the issues of life. We learn to love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. We walk securely because we've been taught the Spirit to walk with God. There is, thirdly, liberty from bad memories, things that happened in the past. Temptation to sin, every time we fell into sin. There may be a compunction for the sin, there may be vows against it, there may be honest purposes to resist and overcome it. But the horrid, poisonous memories remain in the soul. There is liberty from these to those who walk in God's statutes, liberty that can be had nowhere else. A new heart will I give you, he says. Fourthly, there is liberty from fear and terror. With a dark cloud of impending wrath overhanging you, how can you walk at liberty? But take God's precepts, know them, believe them, do them. This terror is removed, this fear is taken away. Why? Because we're safe in his hands. Liberty and freedom are words not unfrequently used in the Bible in a political and social and religious sense. How greatly did Israel rejoice in his freedom from the yoke of Egypt. Among the rewards offered to the man who should silence the boastings of Goliath was that his father's house should be made free in Israel. Both David and Paul recognize it as an essential feature in spiritual life. For David declares that he walked at liberty, and Paul that where the Spirit of God is, there is liberty. What then is true liberty? Whether we choose to call it by this term or by the Saxon term freedom, it must be evidence that it has reference to restraint of some kind. The word emancipation, slavery, also indicates the same. It necessarily implies the removal or absence of something which cramps energies we wish to exert or impedes acts we purpose to perform. But here's a question. Is there such a thing in the world as absolute and entire freedom? And even if it is, would it be worth having? A man might be stranded on a desert island, or desolate island, even if he could provide all the things that he could want to live. One would say he had perfect liberty there. No other government interference, no other things to keep him from doing whatever he wanted. He'd be lacking in quite a few ways. And that liberty in and of itself would become a prison. A man may have such liberty now. They will just go out in the wilderness. Plenty of places still on this earth you can get away from everything. Do everything for yourself. Provide for your own wants. Far away from human society, and you'll realize the idea of absolute and entire liberty. No one will restrain or control or interrupt him. It's that liberty to do whatever his power may be sufficient to accomplish. Whether this absolute and unrestrained liberty be worth much seems to be settled by the fact that very few choose to do it. But is this the only sort of life in which absolute and unrestrained liberty can be realized? I believe so. We may safely affirm that a man who had adopted such a course of life could not come out of his isolated position to mingle with other persons without giving up some portion of his liberty. He obtains maybe an equivalent for what he gives up, but his liberty is cut short. He's no longer absolutely and entirely free. Some such restraints, you think of the general welfare of society, the rights of other individuals. Some might say, I admit that these restraints and will respect them, but I will do as I please so long as I do not interfere with the rights and liberties of others. I will enjoy my liberty and allow them theirs. That wouldn't be absolute liberty. But apply this idea of real liberty to the spiritual life and walk of the true Christian. The Christian is a free man. Paul speaks of liberty when Christ has made us free. Is this liberty then absolute or restrained? He rejoices in the liberty wherewith Christ has set him free, and yet feels he is not his own because he's been bought with a price. He knows and he feels that God's law is restraint, but he rejoices that it restrains him, where he serves God with his spirit in the gospel of his Son, and loves his servitude as much as his liberty. In fact, Paul regards him as identical. Service to Christ is perfect freedom. He that is called the Lord, being a servant, is the Lord's free man. Likewise, he that is called being free is Christ's servant. We should always remember that we are not at liberty to do evil. Let us learn to love the restraints of God's law. Pearson says, lawlessness, license, is not liberty. True liberty is found only in obedience to proper restraint. Look at that. True liberty is found only in obedience to proper restraint. And that's where we get the wrong ideas today from. People think liberty is freedom to do whatever you want. Well, you'll be in bondage to your own sin. But true liberty is found only in obedience to proper restraint. A river finds liberty to flow only between its banks. Without these, it would be spread out into a slimy, stagnant pool. Planets uncontrolled by laws would only bring wreck to themselves in the universe. The same law which fences us in fences others out. The restraints which regulate our liberty also ensure and protect us. It's the right of control and cheerful obedience which make a free man. In verse 133, it says, order my steps in thy word, and let not any iniquity have dominion over me. That's liberty, right? We don't want iniquity to have dominion over us. If we're trying to follow our own way because we think it's liberty, well, we're going to be in bondage to our own sin. In Luke 4:18, Jesus said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He's quoting from Isaiah. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised. John 8, verse 30 to 36, as he spake these words, many believed on him. Then said Jesus to those Jews which believed on him, if ye continue in my word, then are ye my disciples indeed, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. They answered him, we be Abraham's seed, we're never in bondage to any man. How sayest thou, ye shall be made free? Jesus answered them, verily, verily, I say to you, whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin. And the servant abideth not in the house forever, but the Son abideth ever. If the Son therefore shall make you free, ye shall be free indeed. And in James 1:25, but whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty, and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed. Top says, the Apostle Paul says that we are called to liberty when he carefully distinguishes this liberty from self-willedness. A man can never have his liberty save on the supposition that he knows what to do with it and is able to do what he knows. And so a godly man is a free man and able to do what he likes, but the distinct assumption is that his likes have come into the renewing grace and are still in the sanctifying grace of God. He is free because he is right-willed and he's going to do that which is right. And he can be trusted with his liberty. You know, as children grow up, you see how they take on different responsibilities and the knowledge that they gain and how they're following and doing what's right. You get more liberty, right? In many cases, my 10-year-old is allowed to do more things than my 5-year-old is. Or almost 5. So, so it is with us in following the Lord. You know, as we more and more have the mind of Christ, so we will see more and more liberty that we have. Being free from the guilt, being free from the shame, being free from the fear of man, being free from all these other bondage to sin, and we will walk at liberty in Christ. Why? Because we seek his precepts. We seek his precepts. Right willingness instead of self-willingness. It's freedom in righteousness. It's a condition to be gained and kept. And it's a condition in which freedom can be enjoyed. Where there is that disposition and purpose, there is always sensitiveness to evil. It is detected at once, it is disliked. To it, there's a natural resistance. It's illustrated in Joseph, who could not do wickedly, even though he had been promoted to the head of Potiphar's household. When Potiphar's wife tries to get him to sin with her, what's he say? Not. It would be wrong to do. He says it would. Why should he do this wickedness and sin against God? Why? Because he is right willingness. Could not do wickedly. And also think of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who would not defile themselves of the king's meat. These young people could be trusted anywhere because they were set on doing right. The only man in God's world who is really free and can be safely trusted with freedom is the one who means to do right and is resolved to do God's will as he may get to know it. So stand fast in the liberty wherewith Christ hath made us free. I will walk at liberty, for I seek thy precepts. Lord. Holy Father, thank you for this time of your word today. Lord, may we continue to heed your laws to us as we see your word. May we continue to seek your precepts, your will and your way for us, and so we'll be free. We will be at liberty to do that. As you open those doors, we'll experience you. Lord, may we seek your precepts, may we walk at liberty. Free from the fear of man, free from the bondage of sin, free from the shame, reproach, and grace. True liberty. May we stand fast in that liberty and be not again tangled in the bondage. In Jesus' name.